And we are now live. Surprise, everybody! This is a Sunday stream now. I'm kidding. No, it's not.
Yeah, just for today only. Welcome, everyone.
Yeah. Yeah. Who would have thought that December would have been the most busiest month for everybody?
Who would have thought of the holidays indeed?
Yeah. Well, if anything, we're only doing this as a one time thing. I'm definitely for sure should be available, or we'll definitely still do a stream on a Saturday next week for the Christmas week. Woo!
Yay!
But I don't know. Maybe we should do something special for the Christmas thing. Who knows? But
We'll think of
let
something.
yeah. Right now it will just only be two of us. Right now we don't. Others will probably show up at some point, but we're not really expecting to anyone really. This is just mostly us just trying to make sure that we actually did have some videos started up and try to keep our YouTube channel alive.
Also, we're going back to our original roots with just us two.
Yeah.
Keck W.
KW. Nowadays, let's go ahead and go into today's topic about the Game Awards stuff. That's already gone through. That was like 2 weeks ago now. Now, if anything, Victor, you were probably catching more or less a tail end of it. And based
Yeah,
off of that too, were you really surprised too about who won the Game Awards?
not really.
Not really.
Yeah, not really.
Yeah, we weren't surprised either, but the Sony fans were. It was like every one of them, like you've already heard like so much drama. Not even drama really. It's just literally Sony fans that are just sitting on their asses becoming giant babies being about like, why didn't Spider-Man win Game of the Year awards?
Sounds normal to me. There'll always be those group of
Yeah.
people.
Yeah, which if anything, too, you would think too that like the Nintendo fans would also be upset as well. But at the same time, it's actually much more funnier to watch the tantrum of like other people than it is to complain
Mhm.
about like your games. So if anything, for those that didn't watch it or those that didn't know until now, where were you guys? I'm kidding. But it's essentially Baldur's Gate 3, that one game of the years. Who, yay, surprise! Who would have thought? And if anything, they were just collecting awards after awards after awards. Like nobody was shocked that they won that many awards. I think right now though too, it's like for me, I was mostly laughing about like the whole shtick too. But I think there's also some other things that a lot more people are bringing up to lighter topic about, which is in some cases how the Game Awards, at least whenever it came to like finally announcing the games too, and then they come to pick up the awards, they were in this case they were practically pushing the devs off of the stage a lot sooner, quicker too, just so that one they can like showcase like advertisements or have like celebrities speak have more like speech time versus the developers, which usually that's what the Game Awards was supposed to been, but Game Awards has been changing for a while now too.
It's okay. A lot of things have been changing. Publicity in general.
Yeah.
You always got to have a celebrity spokesperson.
Yeah, it's like it's you always have a celebrity spokesperson, but there was actually like a video footage that showcases like an actual fucking timer on like their speeches.
Oh,
Yeah, and it's like it was a timer that was on the stream as well too, or not even in stream too, but it was like a teleprompt that was telling people to like speed up the process.
mm.
And it was just like that was just rude for like a lot of the customers, or not even the customers. My bad. I'm like all defaulting like words right now. But um it was essentially like they were trying to make it so that the developers would like speed up their speeches too, like I said, and then to placate they were trying to play a lot of advertisements or like other speeches and whatnot for the celebrities, which feels
Yeah.
very disingenuous, really. And I do feel bad too because there was like a video footage of Larian Studios devs when they were trying to accept the Game of the Year awards. That, oh hey, yeah, the big issue with that one too, like they were trying to say all this, they were like thankful, they were about to like be thankful to in this case view like some of the developers that did pass away during development. They were trying to pay tribute to that. But even then, there was like a teleprompter that says, "Please move on" or something like that. It was like really rude kind of sense too. I'm like, damn.
Well, That's the problem with these big businesses, bro. They gotta make money.
Yeah, it's like it's the one
uh,
thing that it's one thing that it does make money too. But if anything, is like, do you still think that still would have warranted that type of
no,
like?
not at all. I mean, not at all. But I'm just saying, gotta understand that businesses are just concerned about money more than anything. So,
Yeah,
I mean,
it's like,
obviously, we could say it's rude. It is rude.
yeah,
That won't change their mind.
yeah, it won't change their mind too, because like right now I don't even remember like what was the number of like people that watched this stream. Like, I don't know. There was like
A
some
lot.
number too. Like, I don't know if it broke any records or not too. But
Probably not. I haven't heard anything about record-breaking views. So,
yeah, maybe. But let's just say, for example, too, like some of the game awards that actually got nominated here, real quick. Let me pull it up on my side here so we can just take a look at which categories won for what. And also to the one that says, shake my head, buoy boy, talking about the Game Awards. Hell yes, we're talking about the Game Awards.
it's all
It's
right.
also,
Brian will never be done about never will never be done with the Game Awards.
yeah, because it's a every year
Ow.
thing. So why not? It also gives us fun things to talk about, such as the fact that what games actually did get nominated, or in this case, did win for a lot of the categories. Like, for example, for the Game of Year awards, too, like the nominees were like Alan Wake 2, Marvel Spider Man, Resident Evil 4, Super Mario Bros. Wonders, and Legend of Zelda. A lot of people were half expecting to see a Nintendo game win, really, because that's just how it usually feels sometimes with a lot of these games. But a lot of people are still genuinely like happy for the fact that Baldur's Gate 3 does get the recognition it does deserve. Albeit maybe on the Game Awards part, they probably should handle it better. In the case of like,
Mhm.
don't try to like speed up the speeches of your developers, or else it really comes off as like tech. Because let's be honest, people are more understanding that like, yes, you guys need to make money to like whatnot too, but don't make it like so or not. Don't make it obvious, but it's like just extend the event too, or extend out the event too, because like I think a lot of these people do want to tell like the story that got them to this, and a lot of people are pretty interested in that. However, I know there are some that are just very impatient and probably have a brain cell of an amoeba.
Mhm.
But overall, too, when it came to a lot of game trailers that were coming up, there's actually a lot more indie games that were being thrown in there too, such as like the indie developer that made like Dead Cells is making a new game, which honestly that was the biggest shock for me throughout the entire series or throughout the entire event, really. And then there's some like really cool looking trailers that dropped as well. Something to make note of. And I still think we can make fun of like one of the categories about like what was it, the best community support, yeah, best community support, and Destiny 2 being on there.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Oh yeah, did you hear too that like based on like what people have been talking about too, Bungie might actually go out of business, or they might actually just dissolve.
Oh yeah. No, I haven't heard of that. But
Oh, it's also
I'm not entirely surprised because I know Destiny 2 was massive money, or Destiny games in general were massive money pits.
yeah. Massive money pits either on the player and maybe on the developers themselves too. Hell, it's literally because of the fact too. We'll probably go back into from our previous topics. Like in this case, when we talk about live service games, a lot of times the companies too that are trying to pivot for live service, it's actually way more resource intensive to just try to give yourself a reason why they should spend money in the first place
Hmm.
versus just trying to make a good game, I guess. Which I say that too because while I was on my way here, Naughty Dogs has at least announced that they were working on a live service game for that was in development for 5 years, and they stated outright that they are terminating the project just because of like how much resources that it would have required from both Naughty Dogs and Sony as well, which is not going to be like good for everybody. And if anything, they placated to the fact that they're leaning on trying to play to their strengths, such as they're trying to make strong narrative driven single player games.
Yeah.
Which honestly, let's be honest, I think it feels genuinely good to hear developers that like are like sticking to what they know works for them, like what they're known for doing. But that also puts a lot of emphasis on, do they retain a lot of their old development staff that help make them make good games as well.
It's okay. I mean, in the end, it's not about retaining the same people.
Mm-hmm.
It's about having a system in place that is capable of building a new game on
Yeah,
top of what you already have.
yeah, that's true. And now the only thing that I've only got really upset about from the awards is the innovation and accessibility. Forza Motorsports actually won this award. Now, I can understand why it is too, such as based on what I've been told to, apparently blind people can play Forza Motorsports. Which I'm like, I mean, that's really cool and all too. But have you ever asked if a blind person really wanted to drive?
Oh no, that's why they can get a video game to do it instead.
That's true. All right. You know what? You make a fair point. My every other point I was having in my head is now just terminated there. I was like, you know what? That's fair.
See,
But
this is why we have video games, y'all.
yeah.
So we can do things that we would never do in real life.
Oh yeah, definitely. Like just having blind people have the capabilities of just playing games that they normally wouldn't be able to. Such as like I don't know how Diablo 4 was still on there. That fucking game is so hard to figure out what the hell you're looking at to. Even with all the colors. It's the color palette in that game is literally shades of gray.
Yeah.
But overall
AAA
too.
game, by the way, guys.
Yeah, AAA game. No. Blizzard is still a developing studio. They're still like an indie company.
You know, it makes sense to me.
It's run by a bunch of people that are like have their experiences in indie development.
And a bunch of interns.
Yeah, essentially a bunch of interns. Now, we've mentioned like a lot of stuff for like the Game Awards too, but let's get into like the real meat in like what actually did start happening too is, do you remember the game the day before, Victor?
Yes, I remember you telling me about it.
Yeah.
I personally don't know about it at all.
Yeah. So for those that don't know, that the day before was supposed to be a open MMO zombie survival game, which is something that like to those that probably play a couple games similar to that, it's essentially like the World of Warcraft MMO style with survival aspects of like some games, and then it throw in zombies like you were playing DayZ mods and whatnot, or Rust, something like that. It was supposed to be something that was really cool with like high fidelity graphics that they were promising. But to those that didn't know what happened, as soon as the game came out in early access, it got hit with so many mostly negative reviews because of how unplayable the game was. In the sense too that they also got rug pulled as well, where it was not an MMO and instead was just another extraction shooter that just had zombies randomly placed around a map. So parts of the description, what they were selling the game for, was already like a lie to begin with. And a lot of people were like already calling out the developers, saying too that the trailers feel more like a scam more than anything, even though the game hasn't come out yet. A lot of players were speculating that this feels like a scam because there's like a lot of weird stuff that was happening around there too. Like people were claiming that the studio itself was using artificial intelligence to like generate like voice lines for like the trailer or some like the scripts for people to say. How a lot of like the responses that they have on Twitter feels AI generated.
Mm-hmm.
And get this too. By the time that the game was released, 4 days later, the studio announces that they are terminating like their whole development studios. Like the studio is gone. Technically gone, but realistically what ended up happening is they just renamed themselves. But That was
Yeah,
like,
when you do a massive fuck up like that, then
yeah, you wouldn't be that surprised either, too. But here's the thing, too. Like, the thing that ended up happening, too, that, like, I don't think it's actually a scam either way, too, because of the fact that I think there was, like, a clause within, like, the Steam page, too, where for the first month of the release, Steam actually retains a lot of the revenue for the games at first, too, and then they'll split that out to the developers at some point. But right now,
anything Steam sounds like a scam.
yeah, yeah, more or less. But despite all that too, Steam was actually like a honoring people's refunds for this game too, because they also terminated the option for you to even buy the game in the first place. Which is something that's like, bah damn, Steam was actually putting the foot down on this game now, huh? So there was all that the shtick too. There was like a lot of memes that came around that too, such as the IGN for the first time in a while too. They've given their most rarest rating ever. They gave this game a 1 out of 10. Compared to all the other games they reviewed, this game scored lower than Gollum and the King Kong game.
I never even heard of those.
Yeah, don't worry about it. It's like super scuffed for all of them. Gollum was supposed to be hyped up to be like, oh, this is gonna be some high-end graphical shit about like following the story of one of Lord of the Rings character. On release too, God, what the fuck is this trash? It looks like a Flash game. That's what it was. And then King Kong, it was like purposefully scuffed to begin with. It was hilarious. But if anything, Day Before scored so low too. It did even worse than all of these titles. Hell, it even made it even made those worst games that came out this year actually not that bad of a game to begin with, because now this game exists in people's hard drive. Someone's hard drive. Let me see if I can find a Steam analytics here of how many people still play this game real quick. Yeah, here it is. Right now, at certain point, the Day Before had around a peak player base of 38,000. Within, I'll say 2 weeks now, there's only 91 players playing on this game. As of Monday, yeah, as of Monday, December 18th. Wait. Oh wait, I forgot. There's some. I was thinking about. I was like, oh wait, that's right. Some areas in the country, and especially in Europe, that are like a day ahead of us. Right. Oops. I was looking at that. I was like super confused. But yeah.
All right, Brian is not good with time zones.
Yeah, I'm not good with time zones. Time zones are weird to me. But in your cases of the fuck ups here, how bad how bad do you truly think this game is compared to all the worst games that you've seen or heard up until this
No, I
point?
still haven't even seen gameplays of it. I don't even know. I don't even know anything about the game, so I can't even give you an opinion.
Fair enough.
But
But
then again, but honestly, at the same time, if everyone reports it as bad, I don't really look into it.
yeah, I mean, the best thing that ends up happening too is that like nowadays too, like a lot of like newer indie projects too that are being built off Unreal Engine are being looked at a more more focused lens from the audience now, which is, you know what, that's good for the majority of us too. We shouldn't be accepting shitty games to begin with. That's honestly fine.
Well, we shouldn't accept shitty games from big companies. That's for
Yeah,
certain.
yeah, that's true. To be fair though, Fantastic Studios, which was the people that made the Day Before, they the only things that they were practically known for was that one game called Prop Night, which is prop hunt, but I guess built on Unreal Engine. It was an okay game from what I've been told.
Mhm.
And then before then, it was just like a bunch of other mobile games where they were saying too that this was supposed to be the game that they wanted to really make too. Obviously, it did not pan that way, it seems, based on their
Mhm.
statement too. They have overestimated their capabilities of making this game, and I'm like, I feel like that should be something that you had to state to yourself at the very beginning of development. I feel I
Well,
get I
I
I
mean,
get project
here's the
overrun
thing.
occurs. Mm,
Here's the thing. You need to have a vision and you need to know what you want. Whether it's feasible or not, that's not the main concern.
right,
Not at this the beginning stages at least.
right,
But they worked on it for 5 years, so they should have been able to refine their requirements over time.
yeah.
Maybe they did it too late. Who knows?
Maybe they did it too late, or it feels like at all too, based on what they, or based off of one comment that someone described the gameplay. It feels as if that they finished this the day of it was due for like a school assignment, and they did it on the bus ride there.
Yeah.
That's what the game felt like. And someone actually posted, what was it, the actual catalogs of list of all of the games that actually the developers used from the Unite or Unreal Engine marketplace that they use for the early access game map. Like a whole list, like none of the features that they used, they actually worked on. The only thing that I remember told you before too that was honestly impressive was that they got like so many of these assets to sort more or less work together
Mhm.
in quotations, really, because it
Yeah.
was obvious too. There was like a lot of bugs that ended up happening. People were dying at as soon as they like went into the game to do character customization for reasons.
They were dying.
Yeah, like they would just as soon as they spawn in, they fall off the map at the very beginning part of the level. I'm like, how?
Yeah, deal.
There was a single hot fix, which was only server stability. That was it. And a lot of other issues that at this point it becomes meaningless if we try to go detailed with like a lot of like things that went wrong with the game, where here's the end of the story. The game was just bad. Like just outright. It was terrible. And the fact is, like, this happened before the Game Awards too, and people were trying to like, oh shit, the game is actually coming out. And then they played. It was like, what the fuck is this garbage here? What the fuck were y'all doing for like the past 5 years?
Yeah.
Like you
Yeah.
showcased trailers, which obviously looking back at it now from like the people that were trying to defend it, it did seem really fishy to begin with. At least a lot of the
How so?
trailers, like one of the trailers, at least that was more recent, they were actually ripping frame by frame of, in this case, a Call of Duty trailer that came out. I think it was Black Ops Cold War. They like the day before released a trailer that looks similar in terms of cinematography to that trailer for Call of Duty. And get this too. They were also under a lawsuit against Naughty Dogs because the day before had a similar box art to The Last of Us. If you look at it real quick, Victor, it looks like you could kind of see, like, huh. I wonder if this did feel like a scam because people were trying to think that this game was like another version of The Last of Us, but clearly it didn't.
Yeah, font is actually very similar.
Yeah,
Hmm.
the font is similar too, and so more or less like just the way how it feels like it's shot. Like it feels like it's trying to plagiarize like The Last of Us. Now we're not gonna name anything else that will probably essentially feel like the game practically or the developers practically did a rug pull, which obviously this is a rug pull and it obviously was a scam to begin with as well. But I feel like that's all that they're really going to be called out for, really. They were claiming that they didn't take anyone's money in that statement when they were shutting down the studios, which is also kind of odd too because the game was barely released as well. And it feels weird how all of this, I don't know, people that are still investigating it, I'm pretty sure it will be like an ongoing investigation for some journalists, But one of the comments about IGN about the game as well too is that this studio closed down faster than we could publish a pre-release, or in this case, a game preview for this game before we could publish a review for this game. They shut
God,
down
yeah.
faster than we could publish it. I'm not
I
gonna lie.
wonder. I do wonder what went through their heads though, if this was the case. Like what I went through the developers' heads. Like, why release it?
Yeah. Yeah, and it's like it's so everything felt so weird. This is another weird thing that they speculated too. I don't think they actually had a proper development team either, because on one of the statements they said too, they claimed that they were using volunteer developers. I'm like, wait, what the fuck is that?
God damn.
I'm like, I'm like, and then there's even in time too, it's like, hey, is this game ever really gonna be released too? Because, or you guys are just like in development hell or something. Like, and it's like, we've hit like a snags every now and then, and we barely just won a lawsuit. Shit happens. That was something that they said on their tweet. I'm like, what the fuck? Given, I will give them flack for being a small company. They'll probably be a lot more loose lip about it. They probably don't have a PR team. Likely either. I'm actually more believable that they never had a PR team to begin with, just because they never have a proper development team to begin with either.
It sounds like they never had a proper team of any kind to begin with.
Yeah, they didn't have anything. Is the problem. Oh, actually, no, I lied. They did had something. It was just the fact that everyone is also accusing them that their game just felt like an asset flip, essentially. Now, I would like to at least state too that like I don't think there's anything wrong with like purchasing stuff from the Unreal Engine marketplace and just trying to make it your own. But that's the key word here, is that you try your best to make it your own by either breaking down like whatever core system that you bought from Unreal Marketplace. Let's say, for example, like a survival gameplay module. Like it's kind of like understood that you would normally have to like take that apart and try to understand how they did it so that you could implement it yourself, right? Clearly, from based on like the list of catalogs of all the potential UE assets that this game has bought to, I don't think they did anything of that nature at all. They were just trying to like slam shit together and hope it worked.
Yeah, probably.
Which
As you can tell,
obviously,
not the best approach because everybody develops assets differently, so
yeah.
it's a problem just slamming things together.
Yeah. Given, I don't think it would have been an issue had it been for the fact too that it was a shitty game. Let's be honest. It was just shitty. If it wasn't shitty before too, it would have gotten mediocre reviews. Then maybe this development studio could probably salvage themselves. Nah, it was just straight up terrible. And they closed 4 days after they launched.
Their issue isn't that they used existing assets from the store. I would 100% believe that. I'm just sure that they just made a terrible game.
Yeah. Like, holy fuck.
I don't know. People are just going to come up with random reasons why the game's bad. But the main thing is the game's bad because the gameplay is not what the people were expecting.
Yeah. They, if anything, it is like false advertisement. Legit, it was false advertisement, because even on their Steam page, they said too that the day before offers players a uniquely reimagined journey into post-apocalyptic open-world MMO survival set in present day on the US East Coast following a deadly pandemic. The only thing that was a lie was, in this case, having it being an open-world MMO. It was just a big-ass map, and it's an extraction shooter.
Well, it's open world, just not MMO from the sounds of it.
Yeah, it wasn't an MMO to begin with, too. Hell, let me count some of the stories that did happen for that game as well, such as you had like people that would like go into stores that in the game as well too, in the maps, the stores that they would break into, they would trigger an alarm, but the alarm was not based on like if you were hearing it based on distance, it was just playing globally. Like like let's say you are breaking into one section of the map too, and it plays like a sound, right? But then a person from the opposite end of the map can hear it.
Oh. Okay.
So it was playing the alarm sound globally, and it didn't help either too. Whenever there was gunshots, that was also being played globally, so you wouldn't know if you were being shot at or not.
Okay, that's kind of funny.
So
Uh,
right now, as of like I'm looking at this chart too, 84 people are playing this game. Like, guys, you don't have to keep subjecting yourself to playing this game. Everyone is saying it's bad. You're not like forced to keep playing a shitty game. You're not going to get a
it's weird.
medal for playing it.
I think it's weird where some people will just play certain games because maybe they do genuinely enjoy it. Well, everybody else hates it. There's just like that one person, always that one person that likes it and will
Yeah.
keep playing it.
Do you think it's just because of the fact they don't want to be wrong?
I don't think so. I maybe they do genuinely enjoy it. I mean, like just because everyone hates it
Yeah.
doesn't mean there's somebody that won't like it.
Yeah. Look, Fantastic Studio. You see here, you could have at least made your game based off of these 84 people that are still playing your game.
Well, they did. That's why 84 people are playing it.
Goddamn. Also, welcome back, Lloyd. How was your drive back home?
Very nice. I saw a
Yeah.
cop and I slowed it down.
Goddamn.
Nice.
Damn, you should have just sped that shit. I'm kidding.
Nope,
I know, right?
He pulled over, turned off the lights, bro. They pulled over.
Ooh. That's
Wait, what?
scary.
Alright, but back to the topic. Go.
Oh, I mean, we were just also like, what was like? Fuck. Now I lost my train of thought. God damn it.
Something about 84 people.
Yeah, something about 84 people. Like, look, you had all these things that you could definitely placate the game to, but obviously, too, I feel like this. That's why it feels fishy too. That like the developers just outright like cut their losses like so quickly too, and then just ran.
Yeah.
I think that's what if. I think that's why everybody is claiming that something just doesn't feel right, and it just feels very suspicious.
I see.
Because like they say that themselves too that they didn't steal like any of the customers' money here too, which is just like what a very odd way to really phrase that. If you were just gonna scam people, just take the money, I guess, and don't say shit. But I wonder if it's because of the fact that I want to know like how much of like investor money went into this game. That's the number I'm very genuinely curious about.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's going to be a number that's not easy to find because they're a private studio.
Yeah, that is true. But I guess like who knows? There's so much about this game too that like I don't even know this is drama. This just feels like a dumpster fire that you just love to enjoy from a distance.
Mm-hmm.
Like I don't
Don't
know.
worry. Good thing to learn. Good thing to learn from everyone so that it doesn't happen again. Because developers and the people are responsible to not make this happen again.
Right. And it's obvious too that like we like me and Victor ourselves are developing games now too, but obviously we if anything we have different approaches to it. I like to look at some of like the drama shit just so that we can learn from their mistakes too. Most of the time we do our best to kind of just ignore it because it really doesn't apply to us. But what an interesting
Well,
discussion.
no, go ahead.
Yeah. What the interesting discussion I had with it too is that this is something that like I don't think this will be affecting us that much either. But do you think because of like the shit show the day before did, do you think it ruins a lot of chances for a lot of indie devs that are making games in Unreal?
Well, it shouldn't.
Yeah.
In my eyes, it shouldn't, only because it greatly depends on how many people are working on the game.
Right.
My point is, you shouldn't expect AAA quality from like a single guy making a game.
We at this point, I'm assuming it's just a single guy here.
Well, that's also not always the best thing. But indie
Yeah.
games, usually there's like a very small team. I mean, like you're not going to have 50 people and calling it an indie game. That's not that definition.
Right.
That's not how it is by definition. So, you know, when you make an indie game, just at most be a couple of people. So you can't really expect a big, like graphically amazing game.
Right.
The most you
Yeah.
can expect out of an indie game is that it's fun. And
Mhm.
that's what you and in the end, that's what everybody should see games. It's just how fun it is.
Yeah. And I'm also going to like not even shoot down the idea too that like the premise that the game had to would have been interesting for a lot of people. Where it's like an open world MMO where it's like a zombie survival too, which is that sounds more or less.
I mean, in
I
the
mean, it,
end, it's overdone, but hey.
yeah. But hey, it would have been a cool concept if they did actually execute it properly. However, it's like the fact too is like, can they really do an MMO, especially to the level of fidelity that they were trying to go for? Because it's essentially it was a small indie company that was really trying to shoot for a AAA's production.
I
But then
mean,
based on like a
let
lot
me
of
be honest. Let me be
Mhm.
honest. They can. You can. Maybe not AAA quality, but you can.
Yeah, at least
But
Unreal Engine has the
that also means you have to like work on the game diligently.
yeah, which obviously it's like these guys it feels like they didn't at all based on like
Hmm.
whatever happened in those 5 years. We'll never know what actually happens in 5 years. And if anything, I don't think they'll ever tell us what happens in those 5 years to begin with.
Yeah.
Like just like the
Yes,
whole
I see. I
wild
mean, I've seen their gameplay, like short gameplay on YouTube before,
Mhm.
and yes, it does seem very generic.
Yeah.
You do really have to wonder what they did in their 5 years.
Yeah. It's just like if anything, you can't help but also kind of feel bad for the people that were like anticipating it too. Because it was also like the most wish listed game on Steam as well.
Mhm.
Which is something that's like now looking back at it too, I wonder how many of those people just feel like, man, we just got rug pulled like super hard.
Well, in the end, it can be rug pulled if they got their money back, right?
It can be. That's why it's like it's not truly a scam or a rug pull unless you did lose all your money too. But obviously
Yeah.
Steam is also going to be going after and be like, what the fuck, guys?
Yeah. Either way, it's not a scam. It's still a game. The only thing is, it's a very shitty game.
Yeah. Like
People shouldn't blow it out of proportion, but it's it's most definitely a shitty game, not a scam.
yeah, it's like we understand where people's frustration comes from too, but let's be realistic about it as well. I mean, this probably will be a hot take based on like how people kind of view this as well. The game itself was probably doomed to begin with, but at the same time, y'all shouldn't be that surprised as well that the game did poorly.
Mhm.
Just based on the fact that it seemed like they were over promising a lot based on the trailers that they were showing as well.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I digress. People felt betrayed about it. I was watching it happily with glee while eating popcorn, watching the dumpster fire. It was all good in
That's
the
right.
end.
This is why I will never buy a new game that just came out.
Yeah, like nobody should really. But speaking of in this case, games that do have been coming out too, then especially with the talk with like now that the Game Awards have passed too and whatnot too. We've had in this case this year has been like the year of having the most amount of great games that came out to also having the most worst games that came out as well too. It's such
Mhm.
a it's such a volatile like year for game releases. It's hilarious.
That's all right. We say you say volatile, I say that's the yin yang.
Yeah. You can't
Every
have
good
all
has its
good.
bad.
Yeah. Can't always have all good releases. Like Lloyd, have you seen the gameplays of like the very scuffed King Kong game?
Scuff King Kong. No, I don't think so.
Uh well,
Very out of touch.
all right, fair enough.
It's
It
all right.
was
I haven't heard of it either.
yeah. If anything, you guys should at least look at clips of it too. It feels like it was purposely meant to just be bad.
What's it
Like
called
there
again?
was I think it was like called like King Kong like Island or some shit. It came out this year. Let me see. Not the not the movie itself. Let me see if I type in the game. It says game 20. Yeah. It was called Skull Island Rise of Kong. I'll post it at least here in our Discord chat, but this is literally what the quality of the game looks like. And it's great.
Okay.
And this is even worse than Lord of the Rings Gollum.
Oh my god, this is a top-down game, or not top-down, third person.
Yeah. It's actually hilarious too.
Wow, this does look like it's made by a couple of dudes in college.
Yeah. And it gets released on the PS5. I'm like, holy shit. This is great. But now in this case, now that we're gonna play catch up with you, Loy, how do you feel about, in this case, people that were just bitching and complaining that Spider-Man did not win any categories whatsoever?
Who fucking who? Cry about it.
Yeah, essentially.
If you wanted to win, maybe you should have made a better game than Baldur's Gate. But and that it didn't happen, and that's why
That's
you
what
didn't
I'm
win an
saying,
award.
bro.
Yeah.
Stop bitching. Yes, it's a great game, and you wanted to win. That is the end goal. But the fact that it didn't proves that you still need some work to outdo Baldur's Gate 3. But
And there's also the caveat too, where historically there's not have been a lot of superhero style games that actually won a lot of awards to begin with either, because a lot of times they kind of is viewed as like safe, if that makes sense.
yeah, they're kind of just banking on the popularity of the superheroes and doing some they're the innovative ideas
Yeah.
for the superheroes.
But this is again not to really like underplay for the fact too that the Marvel Spider-Man games on the PlayStation was probably like really good too. But the only thing that it actually is holding it back is the fact that it's a superhero game. Or it's like a known superhero game. It's ironic that it's the best thing that it's having, but the reason why it didn't win is the very nature that the game is like based on.
I mean, I don't know how I should put it. It's debatable.
Yeah,
Very debatable. I don't think it being a superhero game has a lot to do with it.
Yeah, I don't
plays
think.
a part. It plays a part.
Like,
People
the
might
game just
view badly upon it. Like viewers, that is, like consumers, like some consumers. That's pretty much the only thing I can think of at the moment. But yeah.
Well, see, the game needs to be fun, Like, just because it's a superhero doesn't mean shit.
Yeah.
Honestly, the story of the game, the characters, all of that, that plays a part into it. But in the end, overall, if it's not fun, then it's not
Like
a good game, right?
Yeah, and also who the fuck cares now?
Yeah.
And if
It needs
anything,
to be a good game before people start considering all the other factors that make up the game.
Yeah, right. And on top of all of this too, right? There was just so many people that were just like, who the fuck actually plays Baldur's Gate 3? I'm like, dog, where have you guys lived in? Are you guys literally in your mom's basement with just only your PlayStation? You have no computer that you have access to. And you even have a phone, smartphone too. You had there was no way too that these people live in a world too that they do not know about Baldur's Gate 3's success. If they play games on like a fucking PlayStation, it's even available on the console now too. There is no way in hell that these guys are just saying all that shit too. If anything, it just sounds the fact that they're just Sony fanboys.
Yeah, probably.
And it's like even to their own detriment too when Baldur's Gate 3 is available on consoles.
Just give it a whirl and see why it's so good.
I think some people just really don't like it, so they don't think too much about it.
Yeah.
But they don't realize that a lot of other people like it.
Yeah. Or it's like
those kind of things.
Yeah, it's like they can't comprehend. They can't comprehend why people like this game if they themselves don't like it.
Yeah.
Like, oh, I'm gonna view my opinion as the top.
Factual.
Fact.
I'm like,
look.
Oh,
No. Look.
Just
Look here. If anything, here's the thing. You don't get to do it. That's our job because what we say is actual facts here. What we have said is nothing but facts.
Good.
Yeah.
But Like, you could criticize us for all you want. And it's like, cool. We'll just say you're wrong. Easy.
Exactly. That's basically what they're doing.
Yeah.
Back to it.
Like I said too, if it does feel a shame too. There's this like some parts of me too that's like, man, I felt like they could have won some awards too, but given the fact that what actually won in the end, I'm honestly just not that surprised regardless. Just because, let's be honest, the nominees for this year's Game Awards too is really stacked for Baldur's Gate 3.
Mhm.
Just great.
Yeah. And the most predictable that we actually like guessed correctly too was like what had like the best score in music, and it was indeed Final Fantasy 16. I was actually happy about that one because yeah, Square Enix, you make questionable games, but at the same time, whoever you're hiring as part of like your music team as well too, make that something that you're betting on. Hell, actually, never mind. And I think this is also why Tetsuya Nomura values audio design, since Final Fantasy 15 was originally meant to be like a musical game.
Yeah.
Hey, the music's fantastic. Don't get me wrong. Square Enix does fantastic music.
It's just
They
their
do, but that's
execution. Their execution is questionable.
Man, don't get me started on Kingdom Hearts, dog.
Hey, you like a
Music
game that's
good.
yeah.
Music good, game bad. So what? Well, game
Yeah.
not bad, but game not good.
Yeah, game is something that like, you like waiting 12 years for the last installment of Kingdom Hearts? Question mark.
Let's go.
Question mark on the last installment part. Who knows if they're making any more? I wouldn't be surprised, but let's be clear. As long as we didn't see anything of that nature come out on this year's Game Awards trailers, that was fine. We also, speaking of trailers, we even got to see the Final Fantasy VII, the last part trailer shit. Last part of a 3-part. Oh wait, it's a second part?
It
Shit.
is the okay.
Oh,
it
my
is
bad.
The
I was-
remake.
Yeah,
It
yeah.
is the remake, and it's part 2 because the
Right.
original Final Fantasy VII had basically three arcs to it.
Yeah.
Now they're in like the middle. That's where they are, and they released the final trailer for that arc. So
Yeah.
it's just the middle part. Yes.
Yeah.
And that's
So,
what
yeah, because I was actually getting it confused too, because I was like counting in like Crisis Core, or Reunion is what it's called.
Remember when all that was just one game back in the days? Yeah, me neither.
Yeah, me neither as well. Crisis Core was on a PSP game, by the way, so nobody actually fucking knew.
Damn, bro, it's crazy how they had to split the multiple parts.
Yeah. Like,
I mean, I understand. I'm gonna be honest. I do understand why, because they did add in a lot of stuff to the remake
Yeah.
Final Fantasy 7, but still, damn, bro.
yeah, it's like, and we're also not going to really ignore the fact too, the original Final Fantasy 7 was a 2-part game in the first place as well. Like, it came with like 2 CDs that it came with.
That's fine. It's still one game.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
still one game. But yeah, here it's just like, yeah, you gotta wait for the next part, like years down the line.
Came in like Final
Three
Fantasy
discs.
13 came in 3 discs. So what, bro?
Yeah, so
It's
yeah,
still
they
one
were
game.
you were in the middle of a cutscene, and like, please insert this too.
Oh, yeah.
I'm like, what the fuck?
God, I weirdly miss those, but not really.
I'm like, I don't. I'm like, oh, I'm watching a beautiful ass cutscene. Please insert this too to continue.
I'm
Like,
glad downloadable games became the thing. Only
Yeah.
issue is we need to have hard drives, but still, I'm glad that became the thing.
Yeah. In this case too, we feel bad for those that do genuinely like to keep like the physical copies of it. But I feel like at that point, I think that's already like they're doing it as part of like, if you buy like a digital deluxe edition, you get to actually get a copy of the hard game and the hard disk, which I don't even know if it's possible anymore with CDs now. Maybe Blu-rays. Like, can you, like, based on like how big these games are too, do you think it's even possible to put them in like CDs or like Blu-rays anymore?
No, you can't. Just need like 30 discs.
Oh, there it is. You're like in the middle of like Call of Duty campaign. You're like in a like firefight. Oh, please load in disc 15.
Bro,
I'm like,
each
ah,
game-
shit.
Yeah, each game mode needs its own disc. You know.
Oh my
dude,
God.
that's fucking horrendous.
God.
That's horrendous.
Yeah, no, I'm glad we have downloadable content.
Yeah. Yeah, and we'll be the first one to say this then too. Like out of a lot of things too, we're glad that we live in a new age of technology. Yes, it's fine enough that we can like miss like the old times about it too. But let's be honest, if we try to like keep those old time technologies and try to bring it up to with us now, the development for all these games is already going to cost like ludicrous amounts to begin with. To
Oh,
try
yeah,
to
dude,
like,
especially trying to sell disc games again. That's gonna be a lot of material. That's a lot of
yeah,
supplies you need. A lot of
Mhm.
materials to make.
yeah. Why do you think a lot of music labels now are like switching to digital platforms now?
Everybody should do digital. It's just the best way to distribute anything.
Yeah.
And
However,
the best
yeah.
way for people to hold on to something, you know, like a game, you can just keep it on Steam.
Yeah,
With
keep it
music,
on.
you can keep it on Spotify or whatever app you use.
Yeah. And if anything too, it's like it literally will just be in your hard drive as well that you can honestly just keep store, maintain it well too, and it'll still be there.
Yeah, I mean, best thing is if you get a new phone or get a new computer, you can just re-download it.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. Like but if anything to make that as well. What was another game trailer that was actually dropping around that area? There was a lot too. Hold on. I'm gonna look it up real
Yeah, I don't
quick.
remember anything.
Yeah, I'm looking it up for us anyways. We got like in this case one of the more interesting announcement, which I believe is called they're making a Blade game from Marvel's.
Blade?
Yeah, like the vampire Blade. Like
Why not
I'm
Morbius?
not
bro?
familiar.
It's morbid.
yeah.
Bro.
Well, the only thing that I'll probably say too, I'll probably like showed you clips here and there too, but Blade is essentially a black vampire who also has a nickname Daywalker.
Hmm.
The best thing about it is literally Wesley Snipes playing him. And apparently, too, there was a scene in the original Blade where he gets shot at by police officers. And obviously, he was wearing like very super like armor resistant like vest plating and whatnot too. But even though that he knows that he's protected against most bullets out there too, it was just his delivery of like, "Are you out of your fucking mind?" As he just looks at the two police officers that they just straight up ran away. It was like he wasn't even mad at the fact that like it was police officers that were just scared. It was just the fact that like they just straight up shot him, and it's like the commentary him being black as well.
Yeah.
Damn, bro.
Like I said, that was the commentary that I thought that it was getting at. This was a movie back in the 2000s, so it was great.
Hmm.
Yeah. Oh yeah, that's right. They even brought back over like the old, like in this case, developers that made No Man's Sky. They dropped a hot trailer saying that even though we're still making like one more expansion for their game No Man's Sky, they are in this case working on a new title, which is a open world fantasy style, where it's going to be only on one planet, but it's going to be massive, called Light
Gonna be
No
the whole
Fire.
world?
Yeah, it's just going to be the whole world, like with the highest mountain peaks that will emulate how tall it actually is in real life as well.
That sounds
Oh,
cool.
yeah.
Yeah. So you have all those coming around too. And I believe, what was the other one I saw? I mean, I think, yeah, that was about it. And then there's also Jurassic Park Survival as well. So there's that. Oh yeah, no. The best thing out there, the games that we follow too, that was also when they launched, in this case, the launch trailer of Ready or Not 1.0 release. The trailer for like the official release actually looked really cool. And I'm also proud of the
I
fact
didn't see
that,
it.
oh, if anything, I was proud of the fact that we got to play this game from the very beginning, and then it finally got their official 1.0 release. I'll link it to you I'll link it to you or show you about it
Yeah,
at some
guys,
point.
I was an original supporter.
Yeah. Yeah. Actually, no, Victor was the one that actually got me into the game as well, too.
I pre-ordered the shit.
Yeah. He pre ordered
good.
this hard as
And
fuck.
I waited
though.
years for it.
Yeah. I mean, we are going into this too. Oh, yeah, that's right. The biggest like announcement of all. Monster Hunter Wilds is coming out, which is something that's like, oh shit. They're not doing like a Monster Hunter Rise expansion or whatnot to another one or so. Nope, this is just a straight up a new game and the new direction that they're taking the game as well. Which is like good for them actually. Because I'm pretty sure like Monster Hunter Wilds is what actually, or Monster Hunter World was actually the game title that brought Capcom from ruin. And also Resident Evil games as well.
Definitely the remake.
Yeah, the remakes is what actually saved their company because I think they were really close to like bankruptcy. But I digress. It happened here, so hooray for that too. And there's also more like, I think there's been a more recent interest in Rise, what looks like a lot more people playing a lot of RPG games now too.
RPG games.
Yeah. Like it all started off really just from, I would have to say too, it was a lot of like the single player games that, let's be honest, a lot of single player experiences tend to feel like an RPG game to begin with. They tend to have that feeling. And then afterwards too, Elden Ring kind of solidified the fact that like, hey, we actually do like RPGs all over again. And next thing you know, Baldur's Gate 3, literally what the game Dungeons and Dragons is the quintessential reason why we had like modern like RPGs to begin with. All of the RPGs games were based off of Dungeons and Dragons, essentially.
Mm-hmm.
So, shocker, right?
Quite.
Dungeons and Dragons.
Yeah, and it's, yeah, pretty much this year has been a great year. Great as in like, is it a good year or a bad year? It's just yes.
That's all right.
It doesn't matter.
Every year will be a great year.
Yeah, let's be honest. Yeah, that is true. There is no such thing as like, oh, this is just a year of like, this is like the worst year for gaming or this is the best year in gaming. If anything, I'm just happy for the fact too that the gaming community, like there's just already like new fresh releases of different styles of games that are coming out. And it's not just like either rehash sequels or remasters consistently all the time as well, or it's not the same game over and over and over again as well.
Mm-hmm.
Although I look at Call of Duty and all the people that play sports games, you guys are the problem.
Hey, fuck you. Yeah, you're right. Fucking sports games, right?
Yeah, they are the problem. They are also the reason why they perpetuate microtransaction as well. Let's be honest here. I put them as the running cause of why we still have microtransaction, even though it's already been stated not everybody does not like it.
Dude, the amount of times I played FIFA for that short month and I saw like teams that fucking had 99s all across the board. I'm like, there's no way. Like, granted, I played towards the tail end of it, but god damn, bro. Why do y'all spend so much money? I don't think I spent a single dime, and it took so long to get me good players. I still sucked. That's just a skill issue, bro.
Truly.
Yeah.
I got my butt handed to me multiple times.
Yeah, man. A lot of the times, that is pretty much about right with it. Game Awards, they had some issues too with like, I do hope that they won't repeat that mistake for this year too, just trying to rush developers doing that too, because if anything, that was already like a bad PR stunt that happened for them. Just because now that there's video evidence that they were trying to push developers off the stage a lot quicker to make room for a lot of ad sponsorship, does not really look good. But if anything, nonetheless, I think it's still like a great win for the Game Awards still. Just because, one, a lot of engagement from everybody as well from in there too. And also this tragic news as well, finally. E3 has no longer, or the people, the event organizers that did do E3 did file in this case, they are no longer going to be like doing any more stuff. And this is literally it. There's no more E3 coming out, which
There
it hasn't
were
been.
E3s?
I don't think there were. I think the company was still around, but they were just trying to figure out like what the hell to do. But obviously they couldn't figure
Oh,
it
okay.
out.
Yeah, I haven't seen an E3 in like years.
Yeah,
Same.
and let's and it's also like we've already talked about this too now as well from a previous podcast. E3 has stopped becoming more relevant ever since now you had like different games that are just or different publishers that are just doing their own press conferences in their own like areas now too, because nowadays too it's way easier to like self-host like your own live streams or press conferences now just with like OBS and whatnot,
Yeah.
because beforehand that was the only reason why E3 was so like sought after too, because they had the means to like publish and like broadcast a lot of stuff to a wide range of people. But nowadays they have their own tools, so they don't have to like pay as much money now, and they could just self fund it themselves too, which is probably reduces their overhead costs by a lot.
Yeah.
And if anything, what was the nail in the coffin was COVID. That was about it, actually. COVID was literally what killed E3.
COVID, bro. What a
Yeah.
time.
Yeah. Because if anything, a lot of times those events and venues too, they were really relying on the fact that they wanted to have like more people to attend these press conferences and whatnot. But obviously, not everyone could go. COVID was happening. Doesn't really matter anyways, as everything got moved to like online sources or streaming platform sources now.
Yeah.
If anything, I think it's best to state that we shouldn't like feel sad about that E3 is finally going away, but at least reminisce on the memories that we had when E3 was still around, especially when we've got our first like Halo trailers from E3.
The good old Halo.
Not e-
The good
I
old
think-
Halo indeed.
Yeah, we'll keep mentioning Halo because that game is still such a fun title, even though like the game is essentially like milked out of its entirety. But it's still such a cool fucking game to look back at.
Well, definitely it's not milked. I'm gonna be honest and say it's not milked. They do have a massive universe around it. It's just 343 sucks at story writing.
Yeah, there's no like actual opinion about that. It's just true. Everyone knows. Could Bungie
They
do it
still have
better?
plenty, and they definitely had plenty of ideas going for them,
Yeah.
but they just ruined it themselves.
Yeah, because they were trying their best to like keep the original story. Where I felt like at this point too, they're holding themselves back by just trying to like work with like some like the original source material, which I feel like they tried to do by like releasing all those books too. Now this becomes a Halo talk all over again, boys. But yeah, they were just trying to change it too. And then some people say, would Bungie have done it better? I mean, it won't matter anyways. Bungie's about to go out of business.
Would have Bungie done it better? I mean, in the end, I think it comes to a point where they probably wouldn't have done it. They probably would have done it the same way.
Yeah, it probably would have had the same outcome too. Just because if you look at who is actually left over from the original Bungie team over at where it currently is happening, everybody just left. There's no one that originally worked on the Halo franchises that currently works at any of the big developer studios at the moment. Like all of the people that had the creative minds to like build up the Halo games, they're no longer working for these companies no more. So it's not really that shocking if you look that deep into it too, that like this was like the result that would happen to the game. But obviously they were hoping for the fact that there would be enough passion to keep the game alive, where obviously passion is a bit mixed in a lot of these game studios. Yeah, it's like you had like the developers of like Fantastic Studio with the day before. Man, what a beautiful dumpster fire that was.
Indeed.
And then you have, yeah, and then there's also like the whole thing too. Maybe this could be another separate topic too about like game dev mentality too as well, where there's like a lot of times too where there's been a more recent like messaging too about like of like other developers that are trying to gain the public sympathy of like how hard game developing is, where it's like, sure, But realistically, it doesn't matter anyways because you are a customer service based industry. If whatever you make is not good for like the consumer, then that's just it. It's just terrible. It's bad. Move on.
Mm-hmm.
There's like a lot of push for like trying to say to like gain like customer sympathy for like these developers, which is like sure, that's fine, but at the end of the day, would these people really care? I guess it's also the same way with the Game Awards too, but that's why it's also like I feel like it should be specifically for developers, really recognition of developers. I think that's the only time that it does make sense.
Mm-hmm.
But
Yeah.
but I digress. We are where we at right now with the Game Award stuff. It's been a really fantastic year for games.
Truly.
All good
Always.
and bad. All the memes that come about with even current games too. And even right now, a game developer that's also a furry is managing to make a game that outsold Modern Warfare 3. And that game is being sold $10 right now on Steam. Everybody buy Lethal Company. I probably won't. I'll probably buy it at some point, but not right now.
I
But
just heard furry and I lost. I got lost.
yeah, the developer that made Lethal Company is in this case a public furry, or he is publicly known to be a furry.
I see. Props to him.
Yeah. Like, see how like nobody gives a fuck about that in fact either. There was at least like few people that got mad that the developer is a furry. I'm like, okay, cool.
It
Anyways,
has nothing to do with the game he made, which is
yeah, exactly. It was just like,
it's just people questioning what he likes. That's it.
yeah,
It
it's
has
just like,
nothing to do with the game.
mm-hmm. And it's like, so anyways.
Exactly.
So, anyways, yeah, you just currently see right now top sellers. You don't even see Modern Warfare 3 on here anymore now, too. And it's like Lethal Company, and then Counter Strike 2, and then the finals.
Oh yeah, I heard that's been blowing up recently.
Yeah,
Finals.
yeah. I've watched it every now and then. I just watch like gameplays of what it's about to. Yeah, if anything, Victor, think about like the original devs that made Battlefield Bad Company. They just made a battle royale
Uh,
with destructible environments and all. So, yeah, all that stuff and many more to come. We're still saying like all these other new games that haven't really been talked about yet either, such as really super popular game from Super Giants, Hades 2. I can't wait for that shit. If anything, I only play it every now and then too, just because. Yeah, and there's also so many fucking games that have been catching our attention, but it's also life has been busy. Most importantly,
truly.
yeah. Fuck, man.
We're getting old.
Yeah, we getting old. You getting old. Your mama's getting old, and that pussy smell like fish. I'm sorry. Why did I say that?
Jesus,
God,
what the fuck?
I'm so sorry.
Anyways,
What?
who's gonna be the first to cancel them?
Oh, God damn it! All
I'll
right.
be waiting for that.
Too late. I already canceled myself. But with that, we will probably end tonight's podcast on that note. I probably will not censor this. I'm not gonna lie to you. This is just some random shit that I will just say. My bad if it sounds like I'm just living right now. That's all I got.
That's
You're
Brian
living
Bowie
under
for
your
y'all,
own
everyone.
time.
Brian Bowie for y'all.
But yeah, if anything, we won't always do. This is gonna only be a one-time off thing where we do a stream on a Sunday. We would typically want to keep doing Saturdays too. Next week as well, we'll probably do a Christmas special, probably rank in this case, or we'll do another rankings too, see if how many people we could get on with us too. I would like to have more people on here as well, just because it seems much more cool as well. And I kind of want to showcase at least our podcast to like the friends group, just because really the podcast itself is just derived from the fact that it is inspired by having conversation with the boys in our friends group.
Oh yeah.
So bringing them on too would also have mean somewhat special meaning, at least to me.
Ha! I'm just kidding.
Don't say it. I would cry on the spot. I'm kidding. Maybe
Ooh.
not.
Bit! I'm just kidding.
God damn.
Love,
But
love.
anyways.
love him. Everybody love Brian right now.
Oh god. But
Hell no.
oh, fuck you too then. Anyways. Thank you all for coming over tonight. And thank you for bearing with the fact that, yes, this is weird that it's on a Sunday and not my usual Saturday scheduling, depending on how you guys formed your days around this podcast to begin with. Most of them being my friends, and a lot of them called me out on the last statement, which I want to correct here too. I actually did have Jollibee, but what I meant to say in the reference to those contexts, let me recontextualize that. I said that too because I wanted to go there myself personally. That was all that I was thinking of in my head. I didn't think about the fact that, like, oh yeah, that's right, we did have Jollibee, but it was just not in the setting that I was thinking of right now too. So yes, I technically did have Jollibee, but again, I would like to go there myself at one point. But anyways, see you guys next time. Wanted to clear that up. Wait, hold on a minute. No.
Bye bye.
Goodbye.
Guys.